vista.
I'm with d.talks. I am so excited to welcome you all. Give yourselves a round of applause for getting here and getting tickets to this all that event. Yeah. All right, we're so excited to welcome you to the first ever Design Week Calgary and to be sharing this moment with all of you. Whether you're a designer, a city builder, a student, or simply curious about the creative forces shaping our surroundings, this week is for you. First, I'd like to start by acknowledging that we are gathered within Treaty 7 and the traditional territories of the Niitsitapi of the Blackfoot Confederacy, including the Siksika, Kaani, Vianya, and Amskapiti Gani First Nations, the Eryahe Nakota, consisting of the Chiniki, Bearspaw, the Stoney First Nations, and the Dene of the Tsuut'ina First Nation. Calgary is also homeland to the historic Northwest Métis and the Otipemisiwak Métis government, Métis Nation Battle River Territory, Nose Hill Métis District 5, and Elbow Métis District 6. We also acknowledge all urban Indigenous people who call Calgary their home. We honor and thank the past, present, and future stewards of this land. Now, thanks next is to be made to our sponsors who understood our audacious goal and put their full support behind us. And they include Contemporary Calgary, the Beltline Urban Mural Project, Alberta Real Estate Foundation, Public Eye, the City of Calgary's Downtown Strategy, Leopold's Tavern, Create Construction, Montauk Sofa, CMLC and CMA, GEC, and Cullen Sullivan. As well, this festival wouldn't be possible without events partners stepping up to help shape events like Spill the Tea. For this, we are grateful. What a moment this is. Yeah, give yourself a round of applause. This is Calgary's first official Design Week. That means for the first time, we're putting a spotlight on talent, energy, and big ideas that have been here all along. From architecture to fashion, public art to storytelling, we believe design shapes the way we live, connect, and dream as a city. This week is an opportunity for our design community to step forward, share work with the public, start new conversations, and maybe even spark some unexpected collaborations. You'll find exhibitions, panels, hands-on experiences, and a few surprises along the way, all curated to celebrate the depth and diversity of design in Calgary. To all the designers, organizers, and volunteers, I want to personally, sincerely thank you for saying yes. And to all our guests, thank you for showing up. Your presence here helps grow this moment into something meaningful. Welcome to Design Week Calgary, and to Spill the Tea. We're just getting started. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming to this beautiful event, Spill the Tea, at the inaugural Design Week Calgary. It's awesome. We have had, as Sarah mentioned when we started, some fantastic events, a lot of diversity, people attending from all over, and a lot of fantastic special guests. As you know, if you read the description, which I assume you bought tickets, you likely did. We have got two fabulous guests here. First, Natalie Papageorgiadis. She is an interior designer. Prior to getting into film, worked on luxury hotels and a variety of interiors projects. So very skilled and adept at interior design, and then got into the film industry and started doing interior set decoration, styling, art direction. Has worked on projects such as Mamma Mia, The Crown, and most recently, the Emmy-nominated Bridgerton. Natalie Papageorgiadis. Just give it a hold on the button.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's working. Is it
And
working? Yes.
yes, alongside Natalie, we have Liz Nandee, a local Calgarian. Liz has experiences in interior design as well, set decoration, art coordination, as well as fashion styling for some fantastic clients such as the Obamas, Kim Kardashian, and a variety of others. Liz has also worked on local projects like My Life with the Walter Boys and was named Top 40 Under 40 by Avenue Magazine. Liz Nandee.
Thank you so much, guys. It's a pleasure to be next to you. So, thank you for having us.
Yeah, you're welcome. And isn't this a beautiful venue? Who's first time in the Wilde at the Dorian? So most people. And my first time as well. It's a beautiful venue. Thank you so much to the Dorian and the Wilde for hosting us. I'm going to kick it off with sort of an easy one to get us warmed up, something that everyone likes to talk about, which is, what is your current favorite show or film and why? And is your reasoning design related at all?
Yes, definitely. Am I doing this right?
You are.
Yes. My reasoning is definitely design related. So recently, I think it must have been maybe about a year ago now that we saw it. I really, really enjoyed the Netflix show Ripley, because I just think it's really, the photography is really beautiful. There are certain shots and the framework, and obviously it looks very classic because it's monochromatic, and then there's just that signature bit of the red blood, and it's in Italy, so it's lends itself to be very beautiful anyway. But it was the photography in particular that really gripped me, actually, and really reminded me of why I got into film in the first place. There's a particular shot, I can't remember what episode, where you peer down a staircase, and it's just so graphic and so kind of cool, and it reminded me of when I was looking at expressionist film, things like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and early Nosferatu and Fritz Lang's Metropolis and all of that. That's why I got into film, because of those works, and Ripley reminded me of that.
For myself, this is an oldie, and it's probably not the best film to bring up, but the reason why, it's called The Cell. It's a horror film, but it's going into the mind of somebody that is comatose, and it's this imaginary, dreamy. The sets that are in there, if you take a look at that movie, everything that's how its set deck is interpreted through that movie, there's so many amazing pieces. Like the guy's cape is the entire span of the room, all four corners. There's so many different elements and really cool graphic, but really amazing design details that really, I love implementing them when I'm doing any set deck or any project like that. So one of the first films I ever worked on, what got me into set design, was the first Jumanji movie. And just going through, there's the one scene where the animals are going through the kitchen, and trying to do that without any actors, or what the animals would be doing and how they move. Things like that are very cool, very interesting. And it's not just how you look at it, it's how the viewers look at it, not just what the director or what we see. And that's very important to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And
sorry to interrupt. I want to make sure that you're speaking really loud.
yeah, is everyone hearing us okay?
Better with
No. Okay, let's keep it close to your
I
mouth.
just want to make sure everyone can hear.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon. And no worries with it being horror or graphic. I'm sure there's plenty of people who like horror and thriller here in the room.
That's great. It's really a great movie. And when you go into the mind of somebody that's a little bit deranged, but seeing the fictitious somebody, when you're dreaming, you don't really dream that way, or I think I dream that way, but I don't think a lot of people do. But it's really beautiful. If you take a look at the imagery, it's beautiful, beautifully shot.
So with that question, I'm going to quickly answer it. Not that you're here to hear from me, but I will introduce myself with this. My current favorite show is The Studio by Seth Rogen. And yes, thank you. I am an actor and an interior designer here in Calgary, and that is the reason that I got the privilege to speak to these two lovely individuals. And so as an interior designer and an actor, that show is produced so impressively with a lot of actual built sets on location. So there was some architecture by Frank Lloyd Wright in the show, and there's a lot of oneers, so very impressive acting and interior design combination. So that is why I love that one. With that, I want to move into a question for you, Natalie, which is, you were interviewed by Dezeen, and in that interview, you mentioned that in Bridgerton, you worked to progressively add to the design of Miss Featherington's bedroom, but at the same time, it had to be subtle. It could not arouse suspicion that she was, spoiler, Lady Whistledown. If you haven't watched it, I'm sorry, that is crazy. So how, in typical interior design, if you're doing residential design for a client, you really think about just context. Where is it? Who is the client? What are their needs? But in this situation, you really have to think about marrying context and story. So how do you do that?
Do you think I should take that mic? Do you think I should take that mic?
Maybe. Is this mic working better?
Oh, yeah. So, yes, that's much better. Yeah. For Penelope Featherington's room. So her room, she's been in the show from the beginning. She's a key character. She is Lady Whistledown. So her room features right all the way back to season 1. When we started in season 1, she is the wallflower. She needs to fade into the background, so all the colors are quite pale. Her costume was also very pale. Her skin is lovely and beautiful and pale as well. She's of Irish descent, and she's just meant to fade into the background, and you're not meant to notice her, i.e. she's the wallflower. So then for the progression for season 3, we actually had quite a long discussion with the showrunner. This was something in particular that she wanted to develop. And she said, yes, I just need some subtle changes, but we can't give it away. So we just did things like, it was kind of all about, because Penelope, everything that you describe, as Liz will know, in set decoration, you're always describing the character through all parts of the decor, whether it's their personal belongings or their furniture or the drapery they would have or the paintings up on the wall. Everything is really considered, and we do literally sit there and go, okay, what kind of paintings would she have, and what kind of drapery would she have, and what kind of belongings would she have? So and because of the type of show that Bridgerton is, it's a very modern, relatable show. She's becoming a woman, but she's also kind of coming of age, but she's still living at home with her mum. So she's almost like the teenager who hasn't moved out yet, wants to kind of be a bit rebellious, but doesn't want to have an argument with her mum. So, and obviously doesn't want to give away that she's Whistledown. So we just had to do subtle things, like we added more layers to the drapery to make it a bit more lush and a bit more kind of seductive and suggestive. More, throw cushions, things like that. A few more deeper colors because she's becoming a woman. So we developed the palette from pale to a bit more sort of mid-tone. And then more trinkets and cool little things around the room that she might have bought in a market, which she could buy and then, tuck away in her pocket. Because she's not going to all of a sudden, even though she could afford to, she's not all of a sudden going to buy a whole new furniture suite, and because then Lady Featherington would be like, what's going on here? So yeah, small things like that. Small, subtle. Oh, sorry.
That's awesome. And it's so fascinating to get that inside scoop. I feel like a lot of times it's easy to access information on what interior design is like, especially in residential, but even commercial, restaurant design, places that we often interact with in our everyday lives. But we're typically, unless you're an actor or somehow in the film industry, not going to interact with those types of spaces. So it's great to get that inside scoop. And speaking of story, Liz, when you were named Top 40 Under 40 by Avenue Magazine, in your interview, you mentioned that it is very key to you to support local Calgary artisans and makers and businesses, and that is always going to be a part of your projects. And you've had a lot of international success. You've been on amazing sets with big clients, but you keep bringing it back home to Calgary. And I would love to hear why that is, and is that a part of your story?
Thank you, Josh. Yes, it is part of my story. I think because I started out in design so young. I was just graduating from high school. And in high school, we had to do what we wanted to do when we grew up, what we wanted to do for a job. And I knew very young that this is what I wanted to do, but there was nothing there for me. There was no option. So I actually went out and I got my own intern at Coho 7 back in the day. That was a big design firm here. Uh, there was a lot of different things that there's a lot of opportunities that I was able to get because people believed in me. And I feel coming from Calgary, I feel like I should do that with other people here. Like I'm wearing this from a local designer here. She makes these, she takes ties and she recreates them and repurposes them. And Natalie and I are wearing skirts from Stewart's Line. I know that's not local, but we had to give them a shout out. They're made out of parachutes. So I always like to support whoever I can. I have the opportunity to do that, and I would like to feature as best as I can because I think everybody gets a chance, needs a chance.
For sure. And you know what? I love that because I was speaking with Stuart and everyone else at our table before the talk here, and it is so easy to turn to mass produce things or things that are produced over in Europe or Asia, or these things that seem very alluring and exciting to us. But to bring it back home, when you're doing these big projects that a lot of people see, that a lot of eyes are going to be on, to actually keep it in Calgary is so valuable and so important. And it has helped to grow the industry here in Calgary. I mean, arts and culture over the past 10 years here is booming. And it's an exciting time to be in entertainment here in Calgary. So moving on, I have a question for both of you. I could talk about this all day, but we have a limited time. So when you're doing these types of projects with big personalities, big budgets, all sorts of logistics, all sorts of back and forth and timelines and big production teams, how do you balance all of those things and try to stay level-headed, try to stay calm and make the right decisions for the project? And with that, do you have any interesting stories to tell us of times that maybe that didn't go so well or something crazy happened?
So on these large scale projects, what's really important is that you have a really good team. So everybody that you hire has to, they really have to do their job well and be a worthwhile member of the team. And if they're not, that can actually be really detrimental to everybody in the team, not just the HOD, the head of department. So that's really vital. You've just got to, on a show like Bridgerton, when we say the train has left the station, because then there comes a point where it's like, woof, you're shooting, you're prepping, and it just goes all a bit nuts. And you've just got to, you don't even really have time to sort of sit there and think, so how am I going to handle this? You just got to get on with it. And so that's why, you need the good team members. So, there's a lot of plates you've got to spin all the time, not just working on lots of different sets and overseeing lots of different sets. Yes, you've got to make sure that you have your budget meetings and keep on top of all of that, because if the budget gets thrown out, then everyone can go home. So then you've failed essentially. So that's really, really important. Then you've got to keep your producers happy. Obviously for me, it's the production company and then Netflix. But you do need to, it's really important, especially, I'm sure you can both identify with this, as a creative person, I need to always find a time where I can pull back and actually have my window and my creative time. Because essentially I got into this business to really indulge in the creative. Of course, you've got management side as well, that comes with the territory, but it's really important to me and I have to be able to do that. And I always think, well, that's why I was hired as well, right? They want to see that part of me in the work. So that's, really an important factor. So yeah, you've just got to juggle a lot at the same time. And then in terms of funny stories, got quite a few, just from the last couple of jobs. We've had things like, what you can't ever do is you never want to be the person, or you should never ever be the person to hold up filming for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. So, but nevertheless, we've had very excited young actresses who've kind of been doing goofy little dances offset and then breaking their ankle. So then that will affect what they can shoot. I'm not going to name any names. Will affect what they can shoot. And then it's a case of, okay, well, we can do all your sitting down dialogue. You know, we can do that, but we can't do the bit when you're walking and talking and things like that. And then you've got to sort of work around that. We've also had things like people stepping backwards too quickly, and cakes come crashing down and breaking and things like that. This was also in the press a little while ago. We actually had the key chaise that Colin and Penelope, when they first get together, their key chaise, it actually broke in rehearsal. So that was obviously kind of embarrassing for them, but luckily it was just a rehearsal. So we had to then, you know, come in and reinforce that. But because they're going to shoot on that chaise, you can't just say, oh, never mind, we'll just get you this other chair instead, because they're going to keep shooting on that prop again and again and again. So it has to be that one. So it was really important that the prop team came in and fixed it. And but they styled it out and they did a very professional job.
So moral of the story, not too many rigorous movements unless director says so. Yes?
Oh, geez. I have a lot of stories. There was this one time I was on tour with someone, Oprah, I'm just going to say Oprah. So I did 8 cities, West Coast with her first before we went East Coast. And I worked very closely with her wardrobe stylist to pick the right furniture, the flowers, everything to go with what she was wearing. In a city that I don't know anything about, she did rehearsal and said, Liz, I decided to change my wardrobe. You have 2 hours to fix and change everything. Ooh. And that's what you got to do. Regardless if it's Oprah or anybody else, you have to change it. You have to do it. You have to do a good job. You don't have time to get upset or frustrated. You just have to figure out how you're going to get the job done professionally and stick within what it is that you wanted to portray within that set. So, yeah, I think, so I've had a lot of instances with that, things like that. But things like Ellen and Jane Goodall, who are animal advocates, being very thoughtful about the type of leathers or any type of animal material byproduct that to put in the set, because you just want to be thoughtful about who they are, what they represent, and not disregard that. There's lots more, but yeah, those are 2 little spill the tea.
Great. Yeah, that's awesome. So, I mean, I guess to be successful in this industry, you need to be very well prepared, quick on your feet, you know, do well under pressure, because if you're not those things, you either hold up filming or you don't make the deadline to change out a 2-hour outfit. So those are some key
not
attributes.
the outfit, was the entire set.
The entire set.
So the entire
right.
set had to change in
2 hours. Wow, Liz. Impressive.
Yeah. I don't even know how I did it, but yeah. But it goes back to experience too. Having experience helps you to be able to calm your nerves and to be able to do something like that quickly. And I know that you can relate to that with the film as well. But yeah, having experience, and anybody that comes in to intern or work for us, I'm sure you can relate to that. Like, you got to be quick on your feet. Yeah. You got to be creative as well. It's really easy to hang up things and do, just things that need to be done behind the scenes, but be creative and fast on your feet. Yeah. And problem solve.
Yeah. Problem solve.
Sure,
yeah.
So with that response, how much of preparation for a project for both of you is research, is reading and reviewing films, or if it's a period piece, then looking back, or if it's for a specific client, looking at what they've done in the past, and how much of it is based on just your experience and your gut in the moment?
Yes, that's a really, really important part of the job. I always spend as much time as I can on research. If I'm given a script and it's not even fully complete yet, it doesn't matter. Any kind of nuggets of information that you have about what's coming, who the characters are, what the story's going to be, I just leap on it. I just go, because you always inevitably stories are going to change, characters might get written out, sets might be, you might spend a long time on a set and then it just gets edited out. So you never really know. So you've just got to go with it, and you've just got to keep producing the work as quickly as you can. But yes, in terms of research, that's really, really important to me. It's also, I wouldn't feel confident telling the story, bringing a story to life from script pages if I didn't know enough about it. Because if I'm one of the many, because obviously we are a massive crew, there's me and my team, but everybody else as well, because everybody is telling their story in their way, whether you're the director of photography or, of course, the director or, in fact, an actor. Everybody is bringing their part of storytelling to the project. I would feel a bit of a fraud if I didn't feel like I was versed in it, like that I knew enough about it. Luckily for me, I studied art history, which gives me a good grounding of different periods, a bit of a sense of where things go. Of course, I'm not an expert on every single type of history all over the world, but I have some sort of sense, and then you can develop from that. But it's really important to just go everywhere and do everything as much as I can. So of course there's the internet, but what's way more important are, libraries, special archives, sometimes going to places as well and actually talking to people who might have lived at that time or are experts of that time, or people that we've had things like somebody who collects a certain antique, so they're an expert in that type of furniture or whatever. So, and people love being part of all of it. So you can go there and go, right, okay, I'm thinking of buying this furniture suite, and whether you buy it or not, more often than not, they'll be quite happy to sit there and tell you all about it. You're like, oh, this is great. I not know all this down. These are all nuggets that I need, So there's lots of ways to do research and gather information, but yes, that's really, really important to me to do that. And then to answer your other part of the question, which was the gut feel, which I kind of sort of answered. I think the gut feel then for me is more like maybe pulling on interiors a bit and a sense of colour, texture, balancing things out in a space, which I established when I was doing interiors. That kind of way of building up a space. So that's more my gut feel. So I can kind of look at a load of stuff. I can see what sometimes the assistants, what they've pulled together, and I get a sense already of that's not going to work, or that's great, or yeah, that's a really nice idea, or so that's the experience and the gut then that comes into play.
Okay, so there's quite a few things I could talk about, but research, I'll tell you a story. There's a couple of people that often say to me, your job's not that hard, you just pick a couple chairs. And I do, but
Well,
that's
I've had cushion thrower.
yes, right? Yeah, you just put tchotchkes on, that's all you do. For especially my celebrities, Barack Obama actually said to me, thank you for being so thoughtful about my height. There's not a lot of people that consider that. And a couple other people, there's weight restrictions and, things like that that you need to consider, back problems, things like that. Another celebrity I worked with, I was just on a tour with, he said, I've done 30,000 of these shows and I've never had a more beautiful, thoughtful, respectable set ever. And this guy goes all around the world, and that meant a lot to me because I do a lot of research about what colors they like, what they don't like, flowers, scent, and like just different things. If they have something, if there's a color that makes them ill or gives them a migraine, those are things they're going to be on stage for 2.5 hours. So needing to be comfortable, what would they want in their space? I actually I researched what was in the White House, what chairs he liked, so that I could find something that would work on our stages.
Yeah.
And I was on My Life with the Walter Boys, as you mentioned. A fabulous team, just like Amber. I'm going to mention her. Right? She's another local set decorator who's fabulous. But she wasn't on it, so this is not a bad story. But she wasn't on it. But she actually gave me my first opportunity to work on a union show. So thank you, Amber. Um, the production designer, art director, and set decorator couldn't figure out, this is a brand new character, couldn't figure out how to design his apartment. It was new to them. This film, they actually thought it was a Western, but it wasn't a Western. So there's a lot of different things that happened on that. But I begged them, let me do it. If you don't like it, that's fine. I'll just take my loss, but let me do it. With my interior design background, going into people's homes, you have to read who they are, figure out what best suits them. So I read that character and I picked a blue sectional, like things that you probably wouldn't normally pick for somebody else in that show. But this character, I felt like I knew him. And then I jumped in, did everything, had to set everything up, and had to explain my choices. And none of them said anything. I was like, oh God, I'm fired. But no, they said so graciously to me, how did you know that this is exactly what I wanted? This is what I saw in my head. I just could not translate it. So, and I think my design background and actually working with clients was able to help me to be able to read characters and be able to do things like that, just build sets off what you know.
Yeah, that's great. And sometimes you'll have a client where they think they know what they want. I had someone say, I really want a mid-century modern house. And then they sent me their Pinterest board and it was not mid-century at all. And so a big part of being a successful designer is, whether it's through research or experience doing 100 different projects, is being able to bring that forward and be like, okay, I'm going to take what you just said, dissect it a little bit, and then give it back to you. And it's probably going to be more what you want than you thought it was, because of your experience and the research and the background. I have one more question for our guests, and then I'm going to open it up to you all. I will come out with a microphone and let you pose a question to Liz and Natalie. But my final question is, to get to this point in your career, because obviously you both had some success, some awards, worked on great projects with great clients, how do you get to that point? Is it networking? Is it education? Is it a little bit of luck, public presence, social media? There's so many factors, it feels like, to get to the point where you can say, like, okay, you know what? I feel like I'm successful in my career. But what do you, in your experience, see as maybe the most valuable pieces of that puzzle?
All of the above are relevant. I think if you really want to do something, you just got to do everything that you can to get there. And I'm a strong believer in, if you really put your mind to it, you can get there. And a key thing is perseverance. So you might get knockbacks along the way, but just keep going. I think a key thing for me going from interiors into film, I didn't know anybody, or nobody in my family knew anyone, or my extended family. But I was always curious of friends of mine that were in film, actually. I used to always think, they seem to have a lot more time off than me. They seem to be having a lot more fun than me. I remember thinking, And of course, I would see them when they weren't filming. So in those in-between parts. And I started off with, I just asked whoever I could. And I started off with asking a friend of mine who's now quite a big actor. And I remember him saying, he was kind of a bit surprised. He was like, but you're this successful interior designer. You're doing really big hotels and stuff. And he was a bit perplexed. And so were some of the others. And so were the people that I used to work with. They're like, why do you want to, now, you're going to have to start at the bottom, don't you? And I said, yeah, I don't care. It's fine. It's what I want to do. So, but I remember asking Benny, can you help me? Do you know anyone? And he said, well, I don't know, Nat. I'm in front of the camera. I'm acting. I don't really know how I can help you. And I remember thinking, oh gosh, okay, that's a bit of a bummer. You're doing quite well. And if you can't help me, who can? But anyway, then I just carried on asking friends if somebody knows someone who knows someone. Eventually, it led to the suggestion of volunteering on a student film for the National Film and Television School. So I took time off my 9-to-5 job and went and volunteered with them. And then from that, I then discovered a short course in props, and I thought, oh yeah, props, that's what I want to do. So I'll do that course. And then I discovered that it's the props team that works very closely with the set decoration team. But I just went ahead and did the course anyway. And then my first breakthrough role was Annihilation, which is an Alex Garland film with Natalie Portman. And I worked in the props team, and I was essentially a props trainee. So I helped hand over, nothing very complicated for a trainee, of course, but I handed over the handheld props to the actors. So that was very exciting for me at the time. And I remember, you know, that team then, I'm still very friendly with them, but I remember at the time, some of the guys were like, oh, so, because you have a massive, massive prop store, and they said, so Natalie, the props, we need to sweep up the floor, we need to tidy up. I was like, okay, give me the broom. So it was literally, you know, that cliche of starting by sweeping the floor. So that's how I started. But I didn't mind because I knew that was just a step to the next thing. So I always think that every project and every job you do is always the step to the next thing. So it's all building up experience. So I think if you're a youngster trying to get into the industry, you can, of course, do some courses in film itself or film design, but I would say you don't even have to. Even something related is still good. You could do a course in photography or interior design. It all relates, so there's lots and lots of transferable skills. So I think there are lots of ways in, but you've got to be a bit bold, you've got to be willing to talk to people, you've got to be willing to contact strangers, you know, people that you don't know. And then just doing things like sending emails or cold calling, you know, there's a bit of a technique to that. You get in touch with people. If they don't respond, you know, just accept people are busy, leave it a week or two, try again. And actually, I've hired some people because they've been the ones that gently, or that they have the courage to contact me. And I'm more of a sort of hands-on person, so I actually quite like it if people call me. So I've hired a couple of young girls that have called me a few times. And they're like, well, she's actually called me, so she must really want to work with me, you know, rather than just a little timid email. You know, maybe, you know, that's not the right thing to say. But anyway, somebody's taken the courage to actually reach out. So that means a lot. And, you know, that's what I did. And it worked for me. So.
Liz.
Great job. I think just adding to that, persistence and confidence. Going into set design or a stage design, the first one that I took, the really high profile celebrity, I emailed the production company. They didn't even know how I found them to begin with. So we're going back to research. And I emailed them every Monday for about 3 months. And I said, I know this person's set. I know the flowers they like. I know the colors they like. I know this. I know where to get it here in Calgary. Every Monday until 2 weeks before the show, not even a week before the show. And they called me and they said, yeah, we actually need help. So can you do it?
Yeah,
so yeah, and be confident in it. If I didn't know what I was talking about, I wouldn't be able to be on that job. But yeah, knowledge, experience, persistence, confidence. Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, I think the through line that through both of their stories is a lot of grit and determination and consistency, right? It's not just going to happen overnight. And, you know, you hear that sometimes with the overnight success, if it's an actor or a tech maven or someone who's in the public eye who seems to be very, very successful, there's always a long backstory behind that of sweeping floors and emailing every single Monday for months.
Yeah.
It never actually just happens like this. Yes, years.
An overnight success.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It takes years to be an overnight success. That's right.
Yeah.
So thank you both. I'm going to open it up to you all lovely people. If you have questions for our guests, now is the time. We have about 15 minutes to get into it. So
Yeah, just give her the mic. She's going to have most of my questions.
Sarah, do you have that other mic?
Yeah.
I'm going to leave the mic with you and I will go
Oh,
out to
yours
the-
might be a bit quiet, but I think that's the quiet one.
That's
Anyway,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll be loud. All right, all the way at the back. I'm coming. Is this mic work? Yeah, it's working. Okay. Go ahead.
When it comes, is that working?
Just put it really close. Yeah.
When it comes to either costumes or set design, how often are you building things from scratch versus buying things that already exist?
Is that for me or Liz?
It's probably for
Yeah, both of us. It's never really a set amount. Like, okay, now you're doing this job, it will be this amount build, this amount buying. You've just got to fulfill your job, and you've got to fulfill telling the story, lifting the dialogue from those script pages. We, as the design team, we're creating the world. You're only really given, okay, you might have some discussions with the director, or in high-end TV, it would be a showrunner. They're looking to us to create the world. You essentially just have pages of dialogue. And sometimes there's little things that say the gloomy house or the palace, but often not. Often it's a bit generic, and then it's up to us to develop the characterization. So there's no certain percentage for any job. You've just got to get it done, whether it ends up being a lot of buying or a lot of making. You've just got to, you've got to go to antique markets or buy things online, or go to antique markets in the UK or further afield, and you have to work as quickly as you can, because it is easier to buy something if it already exists, but you might need a specific prop or a specific a specific artifact or whatever, and if you can't find it to buy, you have to make it, because you have to have it. You can't not have it. You can't not be ready. You can't not meet the deadline. You can't not be on budget. You have to be ready. So yes, if you can't find something, you have to make it. But there are certain things, of course, that will definitely be made. So for example, in a show like Bridgerton, we tend to make all the drapery. That's all specially made. We upholster all the furniture, so it's all nice and fresh. Sometimes we use old existing furniture. We try to be a little bit sustainable where we can, and we repaint it and remodel it. And then there are certain things that you get to know, like, I've got this huge set. There's no way I'll be able to, sorry, you guys say rent props, we say hire. I guess you hire people. But anyway, so there's no way I'm going to be able to rent a rug that's this size for this room. So I know already now, I know I'm going to have to make it. And I know it's going to take at least a minimum of 5 weeks lead time from design to production and installation. So you have to know this stuff, and you learn it along the way. And then you have to make sure that you do things in the right order, so that you meet the deadline.
So I don't know about you, but I do a lot of commercial work as well. And so I don't know if it's the same, but here, set deck and wardrobe kind of go hand in hand in commercial. So there's a lot that I end up doing as well for that. So the wardrobe and kind of connects into, because I do it. It goes hand in hand. So I just had to do a commercial for one of the schools here, and we had to make a parachute, custom parachute, as well as they wanted to be somebody that was in the workforce. So the director only wanted them to wear something that looked like they got the job, but not professional. So I tried to go into what the viewer was seeing, and without it being a work suit, you wouldn't have known that he got the job. So I think things like that, especially in a commercial that is shorter, it does go hand in hand.
Oh, you recently acquired a prop house to try to keep a lot of that production right here in Calgary. Can you speak to that for a minute?
Yes. It's very new. I was on the JonBenet Ramsey Upper Class Crimes production. And yeah, there was a lot of different things that happened. And I ended up getting everything with the promise to keep everything within the design industry here, the set design industry here in Calgary. So, and then as you guys know, that is very important to me. So yes.
Yeah, it's awesome. Thanks, Liz. Next question, I'm coming.
Thank you. Hi there. I was curious, for both of you, since you both started in interior design, what kind of led you to go into set design and what that pull was. Was it like being able to get into the mind of the director or whoever else and bringing their characters to life, or just like how you made that shift in your career? You kind of touched on it, but yeah.
So I used to do a lot of hotel work and in interiors, and the whole project span is really quite long. It's about 3 years, and you tend to work very hard. If you're lucky, everything sort of goes well, and the client accepts all of your ideas and everything that you're putting forward. But what often happens is they say, "Oh, I want a 5-star plus hotel," but they make you do all this work and you put your heart and soul into it, and then you find out that, oh, actually no, we only have budget for 4-star, which might not sound like a lot, but that makes a huge difference. Then you've got to go back in and what's called value engineering, so essentially find replacements for everything. And that's okay, of course, it's a job, it's work, and it's still creative and it's still interesting. But I had that a few times, and I just got a bit bored as well. I got a bit, maybe I'm dyslexic, but I don't think I have ADHD, but maybe this is a little bit ADHD. I just, after a while, just get a bit bored. Just, oh gosh, it's going to be so long until we see the results. And I'd always been interested in film anyway, always fascinated by film. As I mentioned before, my degree was in art history, and I actually wrote quite a lot of pieces on film. And Christopher Nolan actually set up the film club or film society at my university, so that was always kind of fascinating. And then he shot a scene in Deception. There's a scene in the library, actually, at our library, UCL library, so that was all very cool and exciting. But anyway, and I just liked the fastness of film, and it sort of seemed to suit my personality a lot more, that you work really hard and then you see the results. And sometimes sometimes you have to work, especially for commercials and things like that. You work really hard and then it's like, okay, we're turning over, we're going to shoot, and that's it. And you see it, and then you get the feedback as well. You get actors and directors and everyone coming, and you get the feedback, and it's just more high energy and more of a vibe. And I just feel like it suits my personality more.
Thanks. I agree with you. I think that's very similar to myself. Going to design school here, one of my first projects, my instructor said, design this room. And we had a conversation about this. Everybody did cream, white, and beige. And I did not do that. I did red walls, gold accents, like just craziness that goes on my head. And she said, you have a really unique imagination. And I wasn't sure what that meant, but I always knew that I was different and thought of things different. And exactly what she was saying, the first show, like I mentioned, Jumanji, being able to create something that is not, it's something really cool. You get to do cool things. And it is short, but you have to think of that whole process and doing things that are out of the box and things that are not familiar. And I think that's what I enjoy the most about doing set deck and working in film, is that you get to do really creative, really cool things, and it's there.
Yeah, those are lovely answers. And I mean, I definitely resonate with that. I think often people who are designers, but they're just looking for something more. They're not happy with the status quo. They're not happy with like regular processes and schedules, and they end up in the entertainment industry. And it's a lot of fun, high energy, very exciting. I think we have time for one more question. So now's your time. Over here. Jamie?
Great question.
Okay, sure.
It's more for Liz, but I'm telling it if it fits yours pretty answer. So Liz, you were saying you did a lot of research on people, and when you're working with them like Jake Will, who I love, he's so amazing. And so people aren't talking, like if you're doing internet search, they're not talking about like, hey, I like breeds or something like that. So how are you actually finding these preferences?
It is available. You just have to spend a lot of hours. And right now it's a little bit more difficult because there's a lot of things on the internet that are not true. But I go into a lot of books that actually talk about those people. So things, articles that have been written about them or things that they've said. So it's not a lot of just internet searches, like actually trying to find anything that what Jane had written. I've gone out and read that book or found key pieces or things like that. So same with the Obamas, and just you have to just not just do internet searches. You got to dive deep into what you're looking for and things that would be authentic to them that you know that they've said. That's what I try to go for.
No, if you
Oh,
have it.
yeah,
if
something.
you
Oh,
have
sorry,
it.
could you repeat the question?
Oh, it
Sorry.
was really more because the deep dive in the individual now, obviously yours are characters. So how, or at least for the set designs, how do you find a person and the character and then find what they like and stuff like that? If I take that question to you.
How do I find a person and a character?
Like when you're building the rooms and stuff. So with Liz, she's actually having, she's mentioned she had people, so she's researching them. How do you research, I guess, the character?
Yeah, yes, the characterization, yeah. So, yeah, that's all part of what we were saying before. Each character will and each actor will move around in certain sets, whether they are interior or exterior, and so the spaces that they move around in has to resonate with their character and be part of their world and tell their story. So everything is part of characterization. So whether it's Penelope or Cressida or Colin, there are certain key things you have to understand about the character, and then you have to develop, and then you have to go even further than that if you want to make it a nice and fun and interesting show. You can't just tell the obvious layer. You have to go much further than that, because we're trying to create stories about actual people and sometimes larger than life and even more fantastical and more interesting than we are as people, right? So we tend to exaggerate. That's why we exaggerate, and we have a lot of fun in film, because it's not just this person with their everyday life. It's like there's so much more, and there's more that you're adding and more layers. So for somebody like Colin, for example, the anchor was the fact that he traveled. He'd been on what young men used to do traditionally at that time, the world tour. So we had things that he might have collected from the classical places like Rome and different parts of Greece. But then we also took it much further than that and did research into the Soane Museum in London, where Soane famously collected lots of elements of architecture and architectural drawings. So then we lent into that, and we had graphics on the wall of architectural columns and things like that, but also beautiful paintings of Naxos. And then from that, the designer and I discovered a really lovely book from Taschen called The Cabinet of Curiosity. It's a beautiful book, and there's just so much in there. You look at every page, you're thinking, oh wow, and this is really beautiful and inspiring, and just flicking through it. Oh yeah, oh that could be Colin. Oh that could be Colin. That could be Colin. And then you just link it all up, and you just add so much layering to it. And then from that sprung lots and lots of other ideas. One of which was, if you watch the show, there's a couple of niches in one of his living rooms, or the ante room that's next to the bedroom. There's two niches with some shelves. So we then put this really lovely display of shells in there. And then actually there are shells also in the Bridgerton house as well. So it sort of links back to that. But there's lots of things that he's collected. There's lots of key parts of the walls that feature certain little collections, things that he's found along the way. So then, nobody ever said, oh, Colin is a collector. we developed that, we added that in, but that came a bit later after we sort of did the initial parts of his characterization, i.e. he's traveled and things like that. So you just got to keep adding all these layers. And then another layer, which I really like for him, is he talks about Penelope's a little bit jealous of his diary, and she reads some entries from his diary where he's been to Paris, and he talks about ladies that he's been with and things like that. And so then in his actual apartment, all the fabrics that are used and some of the patterning that's around it's French inspired, and the fleur-de-lis motif is in there because we wanted a bit of that French romanticism. And of course, it all kind of makes sense because he's the lead, and you know, who wouldn't want to make the lead romantic? So
Yeah, that's awesome. These are things now that everyone's going to be looking out for, little Easter eggs. And when you're watching live shows and sets and television and film, you're going to be like, what character trait was informing these interesting little decisions? I'm going to sneak in one last question, and then we're going to wrap it up.
hello. Can't see you around the corner.
It's a little hard. Okay, I'll stand up. So my question is, what are your thoughts on perfectionism and completing projects? I feel like sometimes you want to sink all your passion, emotion, and micromanage every facet of everything, but you know that time is of the essence. How do you balance that? And do you ever remove your personal attachment to your projects?
Yeah, that's really hard. It's a good question. It's really hard. It's really hard not to do that. I sometimes struggle with that. But I've kind of got two schools of thought going on. The first one is, oh yes, of course, you know, you want it all to be perfect and work really hard and just work way into the night. But of course, that's not sustainable. So sometimes you have to just do, I think it Jeff Bezos that said, oh God, I can't believe I'm referring to him. But anyway, I think he said fast and wrong. So just sometimes it's better to just get something going, get it out there, and then you can amend it later. So, and also for high-end TV, it sort of depends, because if you're on a film, you're assuming that it's going to be on a very large screen. So all the little details actually are quite important, and you don't want to, if something doesn't look very real or very believable, you give away the mystique, and you give away. And somebody once said to me, which I think is absolutely true, that in the design department, we've done our job when we're not noticed. So people only really notice the mistakes, and then that kind of gives it away and say, oh, that wasn't quite right, or that was. And one of my old bosses used to say, well, Natalie, if you ever get anyone like that, you know, just say well done, and we'll send you a T-shirt. So, you know, but so yes, you do have to. It's a bit of a balance, I would say. But for me, yes, it's always really, the drive is deadline, got to be ready. So, you know, you can sometimes just kiss goodbye all the, you know, perfectionness and stuff. But you have to just, make sure that you're ready on time and fast and wrong. And you've just got to get it done.
I'll answer this quickly. I am not like that. I'm the complete opposite. I will work all day, all night to get what I see in my head and what I think the director wants. Or my problem is I like to have a variety of options. As you know, when you look at something in life, it looks like this, and then on camera, it looks like something else. So I like to provide a ton of different options. And yes, if I lose sleep for a couple days, it's totally fine. But until I feel satisfied that I do have, because sometimes they'll ask you, do you have a balloon? Do you have, you know, something that, so I like, when I read a script or anything like that, I always read it and write down options. Different things that I could pick up, or in case, you know, he does say that he wants something different, or, you know, there's just a million things. Can you pull down that cloud of the sky for us? You know, so yeah, I understand. And when I get there, it'll be great. But yeah, I'm not like that.
I think it's also worth knowing, for things like TV. I was also trained as well by my mentor. She would always say, well, Natalie, like the hero area is here, here. And it tends to be conversation. Okay, there's a scene with Josh and Natalie. So camera on Josh. Josh says his bit, then the response from Natalie. So there's often quite a lot of that. So sometimes you've got to know where to spend the money in the hero area. So that's good. It's good to have those kind of shortcuts. But then again, having said that, I was also taught, well, it's the set decorator's job to get a set ready on time, and that's not going to fall down, and that's safe, working alongside everybody else as well, of course. No, what? I don't want you to...
sets did you do in last season?
I'm not allowed to talk about last season.
Or the season before?
Season 3, I think about 123.
Yeah, so sometimes you have to...
Yes, yes. Anyway, just to go back to what I was saying. So it's the set decorator's role to get a set ready for shooting. And see, you've put me off my train of thought now. So 2 roles. Get the set ready on time, on budget, and that's safe, but also a set that the actors feel like they're really in that world. And I have to say that, yes, okay, there are certain hero areas, and I wouldn't put something really, really expensive on the floor or whatever, because, the likelihood that it's going to be seen is probably not likely. However, you will see things like a huge rug or the floor finishes and stuff like that. So then that is worth doing, and that is still a key area, and that is still where you need to spend money. So, but it's very satisfying to have actors and directors come in when we do the handover for the shooting crew, for them to say, oh, you get oohs and ahs, and for them to say yes, just that. Then they are, and Josh will be able to identify with this, that we're the design team providing you your own mini sweet shop to get excited in and get into character. So you want to play your role, and you want to make sure that you're handing over to the shooting crew, and for the actors especially, for them to feel like they're really there, and then they can really then get into their role. And I have to say, if you do that, and you do that with a lot of heart and a lot of soul, it's noticed, and very often they will comment on that as well, and that's just really nice feedback.
Thank you so much. That was amazing. Who enjoyed spilling the tea with us today? And please, let's give it up one more time for Liz Nandee and Natalie Papageorgiadis. Thank you so much for attending our inaugural Design Week Calgary. You can find coverage of this media on Design Week Calgary's Instagram and d.talks. Please follow along with us. We hope to make this a yearly event, and the more support, the better. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you, Josh.